Okay, so today I am going to be talking just a little bit about Denis Villeneuve's new, and I really hope I pronounce that correctly.
Denis Villeneuve.
But I'm going to be talking about his new film, Dune. Dune. I guess it depends where you're from. I'm from Australia, so I'm going to say Dune. I'm not sure if Americans are pronouncing it Dune. Anyway, yeah. So yes, I went to the cinema, I think about 4 days ago roughly, and I have some thoughts that I really want to share because it's a really interesting movie. Now, of course, just super quickly, just a quick word of reassurance. If you are planning on seeing Dune, you can watch this video, please don't worry. I'm not going to be covering any kind of details relating to the plot or, the storyline itself. I'm just kind of wanting to mention my thoughts on some of the creative elements of Dune. So I will be mentioning names of characters, places, and just my thoughts overall. And then, of course, within this video, I will be including comments on the setting and the set design, scenes, character, costume design, and the characters overall, as well as the world building, and of course, the soundtrack as well. So all I can say is if you are planning to see this movie, you definitely want to see it in a cinema, preferably IMAX. The sheer size and the scale of the planets and the ships and even the characters themselves, some of them are truly breathtaking, and I really, really think that if you don't see it in the cinema, you really are missing out on that overall experience. It's really truly breathtaking in the cinema. I really believe if you were to wait for this film to come out and if you go home and watch it on your TV or, well, of course, TV is not so bad, but if you watch it on your laptop screen or on your computer monitor, it will not do this film justice at all. It won't do the visuals justice, it won't do the soundtrack justice, it won't do the scale any justice. It's truly a film that you really, really must see in the cinema if you can. Go to the cinema. That's all on that. You definitely should go. And hopefully, for those of you who are not sure whether you want to see Dune yet or not, or you might never want to see Dune, you might not be interested in sci-fi, I actually really recommend that you give this film a go anyway, regardless of whether you like sci-fi or not. Hopefully, I can persuade you to go and watch it. Right. So, where do I even begin? First of all, wow. This film is visually stunning, and I could honestly say it might be one of the most attractive, or visually attractive sci-fi films I've seen in a very, very, very long time. There are some truly breathtaking sci-fi films out there, and Dune is well and truly up on that list now for me. If you took a screenshot of any given scene in the film, I can almost guarantee that it is beautiful. I really felt like the world and its dynamics were really intriguing. The action was fantastic. I was really glued to the screen when I was watching, and I never felt like, okay, this is really dragging on. It had me on the edge of my seat for the entirety of, I believe it's 156 minutes, the entire running time. I was glued. All of the characters are really well casted. So we have Timothée Chalamet, Timothée Chameleon. He is truly a fantastic choice for Paul Atreides. Timothy's portrayal of Paul is right up there with Kyle MacLachlan's from David Fincher's Dune, which came out in 1984. Of course, Kyle's hair, I gotta say, was definitely superior. I mean, look at this hair. Truly superior. We love Kyle on this channel. Also, Oscar Isaac and his beard, which essentially at this point is an entity of its own, both give really strong performances throughout this film as well.
Your grandfather said, a great man doesn't seek to lead, he's called to it. And he answers.
And immediately from the beginning, you get this very clear feeling of, oh, Paul is the character that we're going to be rooting for. He's the one that everyone is going to be looking up to. The writers want you to root for Paul and root for House Atreides and root for the Fremen. And I must say, it's really interesting because in films like this, usually the viewer is presented with a bit of an underdog character, so the unlikely hero type. And we have seen so many good examples of this. You know, we have films like Rocky and the Hunger Games franchise, and also the Harry Potter franchise too, and also Luke Skywalker's story in Star Wars. There's so many good examples, the list really goes on. But what's interesting about Dune and about Paul Atreides is that he is not an underdog. Not by a long shot. He's intelligent and he's well liked, but above all, Paul is powerful. And he's powerful in more ways than just being the heir to his house. And I also really like how at the beginning of the film, we're introduced to all these different houses and their agendas and what they want, and also this really huge political tug of war that's going on within this universe. And I really, really quite enjoyed how all of that was kind of introduced, and it wasn't like a big info dump. It was very well done in my opinion. Another thing was that I felt like the houses were very Game of Thrones-y kind of feeling for me. I don't know, a little bit nostalgic. Like I felt like, oh, this is kind of reminds me of Game of Thrones, and it also kind of gives me some Star Wars vibes as well, some early Star Wars vibes. I like the way that it presents these various factions, and it's not very, oh, this, enjoy. Like the way they did it was really quite well done, I think. So another thing that I thought was really quite, visually attractive for me was the contrast between Caladan and Arrakis. I loved that juxtaposition between the blue palette of the atmosphere on Caladan versus the more warm, desert-like feeling on Arrakis. And then the same can be said for the Atreides house and the Fremen as well. So you can see like a lot of contrast between the two, and I think it works really well together. House Atreides has this very dark color scheme, so the clothes that they wear are often very dull, very minimalistic, and I really like that once they arrive to Arrakis, that color palette really gives off this vibe that on Arrakis, they're outsiders. And I think it's shown through the color palette really well that they don't really belong on this planet. And as time goes on, that kind of starts to change as well, and I really quite like that. The soundtrack. It hits different in the cinema. Completely different. I gotta say, when I was sitting in my seat, there's like do-do-do-do, going on. I could feel all of it in my chest, and it was really, really well done. Of course, it's Hans Zimmer, so I mean, what do we expect? But truly, with this one, Hans zimmered until he could zimmer no more. It was such a good soundtrack. And of course, trust Denis to bring a really large artistic scale film to Hollywood. I gotta say, some of the films that have come out in the past 2 years have really restored my faith in visual storytelling and visual effects, and combining these brilliant effects with a really good story as well, something that viewers can really get invested in and enthralled in. However, in saying that, there is a couple things that I felt like perhaps Dune could have done a little bit of a better job. The movie is trying to, of course, stay true to the original source material, which is the original book franchise, and then, of course, David Fincher's Dune that came out in 1984. There was actually a very interesting comparison between scenes from David Fincher's Dune and then Denis Villeneuve's Dune as well. I'll link the video down in the description box. I think it's really, really interesting to be able to kind of compare the scenes side by side, and I think Denis Villeneuve does a really good job at kind of paying homage to some of the scenes featured in David Fincher's Dune. So I really liked that, actually. The use of scale throughout the film is really where Dune excels, in my opinion. It really puts into perspective like how large the Dune universe is, and it really puts the viewer in the middle of it. and you kind of just are like, whoa, oh my goodness. Everything is just so visually stunning that you can't help but feel kind of entranced, or you feel like you are entering that world. And I think the film expertly drags the viewer into the story and removes the space between us and the world of Dune. And I think the scale of the film does a really, really good job at doing that. Another thing that this film excels in is the set design. Oh, the set design. It is glorious. Everything feels super futuristic, but then also super ancient at the same time, and it's very, very well done. It's all put together really seamlessly. I've been filming for about an hour and a half and the light has just disappeared. Okay, so I think that's all. Those were just some of the thoughts that I want to comment on. But please, if you have watched Dune, or if you're planning to watch Dune, or if you just want to leave me a comment, please write something down below in the comment section and let me know what you thought of Dune. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you watched all the way until the end, thank you so, so much. And stay tuned. I actually have a couple reaction videos to some popular movies and TV series coming really soon. So I hope that is interesting. Feel free to go ahead and subscribe and yeah, keep following what I'm doing. I've got a lot coming up, so I'm really, really excited, and I hope a lot of you stay around for the ride. So thank you so much, and yes, that's all for now. Okay, thank you so much, and bye!